There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I've got to beat every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up using a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. Final Fantasy X was released many different times for different regions, but the first date was July 19th of 2001. Developed by Squaresoft, the game was a huge success and is argued by many as the best Final Fantasy game. It would also be the first Final Fantasy game to receive a direct sequel in Final Fantasy X-2. Can I beat this fantastic RPG? Final Fantasy X is an incredible game, especially for being released in 2001. And just compare it to a game I played earlier called Horses, made in 2006 by Ubisoft. That game looks like utter shit and plays like utter shit. Well, this game, 5 years before it, plays so wonderfully. Final Fantasy X opens with a group of characters who are all the main characters of the game. We see one guy get up and walk away, and then he starts monologuing about how this is the last chance that they have. We obviously have no context to what's going on, but now that this sets the scene, we know that later we're going to see all these people together and they're going to be at a point where it's their darkest hour. We quickly move to an extremely large cityscape where the main character, Titus, or Titus, is a star Blitzball player. Blitzball is the sport of Zanarkand, the city we are in, where a big sphere of water is just kind of suspended in the air and the players go inside the water and play kind of like this rugby soccer type game. We move throughout the city, giving autographs to crazy fans, seeing this random little kid kind of appear and disappear in and out, which is very jarring, until we get to the game itself, the Blitzball game, which we don't actually play. We don't play Blitzball until much later. In the middle of the match, Titus jumps out to see, oh my god, there's a catastrophic event going on around them that no one knew about because they're all too busy cheering for Blitzball. We do see a man perched on top of one of the roofs, which his name is Orin. He's actually one of our party members, and we meet him very soon. After we barely survive the big ball of water just kind of dropping out from underneath us, we meet up with Orin, who decides to give us our sword and say, all right, we gotta go, we gotta fight these things. And there's just monsters all over the place. And these things are crazy looking. And it's clear that Titus has never seen these monsters before, so they're kind of new to him. Welcome to our first battle, which we can't really lose. And if we do, we start back from right here, so don't worry about it. This game has a traditional RPG battle system where you take turns picking attack, magic, item, escape, all those things that you would expect from a Final Fantasy type RPG back in the day, especially PS2 and before. However, this time, instead of having an active time battle system where things are moving constantly and you need to make quick decisions, this game is very, very turn-based. On the right side of the screen, you can see the next like 15 to 20 turns and who will be taking them. That way you can plan accordingly, which is very important in this game, as that is what it's built around. You are going to get killed and you will need to do certain things in a certain order, otherwise you will not make it through the battle. So it's a lot more planning than quick split-second decisions. One big difference in this battle system as well is character switching. If you have a character in your roster, in your backup that's not in the battle, you can switch an active member with an inactive member at any time during the battle, and you can switch them freely. Any turn you have, you can just switch. This is extremely helpful, especially if a character is, say, full of status ailments and you don't have any way to heal them, or it's going to take too long. You can switch another character in and have them just take over from where they were. Or you can have a character that has healing in the inactive roster, bring them in to heal some of the members, and then bring them back out so that you can continue on with your onslaught. It's also important to remember that when you switch a character in, as long as they take an action, they will get experience. You'll want to get characters in and out of battle so that everyone gets experience. Otherwise, you're going to have members falling behind in damage, health, everything. They'll just won't be powerful enough to help you in future battles. Another small feature is if you press left on your D-pad, it will show you your overdrive mode. Now, overdrives are your limit breaks, the thing that happens when a bar fills underneath your health bar after doing specific things, either getting hit, your allies getting hit, you dealing damage, getting kills. There's lots of different modes you can set for your overdrive, but overdrives are essentially a big, strong attack of some sort or a very helpful ability, such as Riku's mix ability, being able to mix things and give your characters health or special abilities that they wouldn't normally have. Along with the overdrive mode, when you press left, you also have trigger commands that are very special to bosses. Some bosses will allow you to talk to them or make movements or do specific things you wouldn't normally be able to do in any other battle by pressing left on the D-pad with mostly Titus, although some other characters are allowed to do that, like Yuna. And doing this will help you in battle. And so, in fact, some of the battles are important that you use the trigger command, otherwise you will not be able to win the battle. After all of the battles, we start to get sucked up to this weird-looking thing in the sky, and our so-called friend Orin helps it suck us up, man. He grabs us by the collar and just tosses us up there like, good luck. As we do this, we come into this hazy, dreamlike version of Zanarkand where we're swimming through the air. Now, we do see our father, and the point of this is Titus's father was not really the greatest father. He was pretty bad, and when Titus was like 9, he just suddenly disappeared and was gone. That's right, he went to get milk and never came back, or at least so we thought. Suddenly, Titus wakes up on some long-forgotten ruins, and we swim around, going across different little bridges and finding different treasure chests, finding out that there's some spheres that have a language we don't understand, and it does tell us that we can learn the language by finding primers on the ground or in areas of game that will teach us this language, which is kind of cool. It's called Bhed. As we move through the ruins trying to survive, we fight quite a few different battles against lots of different enemies, including a couple boss-like enemies that we don't actually finish the battle for until we are met with a mystery character who comes in and helps us fight this crazy-looking thing. After the battle is over, Titus is happy to see other people because obviously what the fuck just happened back in Zanarkand and now in these ruins? He has no clue where he is or what's going on. So this mystery person comes up and punches him in the stomach and knocks his ass out. They take me on this ship and we're just suddenly awake out in the middle of the ocean. And even worse, everyone on the ship speaks that language we don't understand that we just learned about, Bhed, except for one character, the mystery character. She starts talking to us and she says, well, look, you're really not useful to us and they're gonna kind of like kick you off the ship. So if you want to help us, maybe you can stay and not get kicked off the ship in the middle of the ocean. Before we move on with the story, we learn about the sphere grid, which is this game's level up system. Very similar to a game like Path of Exile with this huge passive tree. This game has the sphere grid where you move characters around and get abilities and stats and special things all over this grid where everyone starts in a very specific spot and you move through picking these things up with different types of spheres. Each level a character has means they can move an extra spot in the sphere grid. And once you get to those spots, you use special spheres that correspond to the different types of stats and abilities that you'll get. If you have a power sphere, you can spend it on defense or attack or HP. If you have an ability sphere, you can unlock an ability. If there's an empty node, you can actually fill that empty node with HP, with defense, with anything that you pick up throughout the game. So you'll be finding these items all over and spending them in the sphere grid. You also have nodes that are locked with a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 on them. And that means you need the key sphere to unlock them. Those will probably get you your strongest abilities and also allow characters to commingle in their own sphere grids. That way, if someone like Titus wants to go to Orin's sphere grid later on, they can meet by doing different things like a teleport sphere or unlocking specific nodes that allow them to pass through. This is the exact type of system that allows you to do whatever you want with your characters however you'd like. Now, there are times where you're going to find that it's just not useful to have a character go to another character's sphere grid, or some abilities just aren't that great. You need to learn how each of these things work and what sphere is in each of the grid spaces. That way you know to take a character there for a specific reason, otherwise you're just going to get useless abilities and stats that won't help as much as if you had focused a little more. After checking out the sphere grid, we convince everyone that we're totally worth keeping on this ship by telling them we can hold our breath for a long time, because we play Blitzball. And Riku, the mystery character, goes with us down into the water. We're searching for some treasure or some shit, and we end up fighting Squidward tentacles down here. This is the first time we can use our trigger command, where we can do a pincer attack. See, the squid will sometimes move away from us out of our range. We can just sit there and guard and wait for it to come back and hit us, or we can use the trigger command and try and do a pincer attack, where we surround it from both front and back and then hit it for extra damage. When we come back up, we finally learn a little bit more about what's going on with us being in this place. See, the thing that took us up into the sky when we were in Zanarkand playing Blitzball is called Sin, a big monster that is punishing people in the future. And he comes back to get me, and we were not really sure why. But we learn that we are now 1,000 years into the future. Titus is hopeful that Sin can take him back to the past, but now he's wondering if maybe this is not the case. Riku promises to take Titus to a place called Luca, somewhere where he can figure out what he can do now that he's stuck 1,000 years in the future. But it doesn't matter, because Sin comes from out of nowhere and attacks us, fleeing Titus off the ship and making him, I guess, well, he's supposed to be able to breathe under the water, so I don't know how he like passes out, but whatever. He passes out and wakes up on a beach. A Blitzball washes up beside us in the water, and we see a group of dudes on the beach. Titus decides, hey, I just got attacked by Sin and almost killed. Maybe I can show them how good I am at sports. and kicks the ball and makes them all impressed. And that's what we're worried about now. Blitzball. I have no clue why the fuck this is happening, but apparently Blitzball is just too great of a thing for Titus to not ignore. We talk to the main guy of the group here. His name is Waka, and he voices Bender and Jake from Adventure Time. Wonderful voice actor, right? Titus tells him that he has no clue where he's from or what's going on, because Riku did mention to him before he got flung into the ocean not to tell anyone he thinks he is from the past and that sin brought him here. They want him to be careful just in case. A lot of people around here are extremely religious and have a lot of problems with things like that. So Titus just says, I don't know where I'm from, I don't know how I got here, please call a ambulance. Waka does explain that Zanarkand is a pile of rubble and it used to be a big city with Machina, machines that ran them. However, to Waka, Machina is bad because of his religion, the religion of Yevan. Now we'll get into that more later because right now we don't learn a ton about it. So we head back to town with Waka where we get to see a couple cutscenes with Waka and also a flashback of Titus when he was younger and his mom trying to comfort him and all this good stuff until we finally get into a temple where we start to learn a little bit more about what is in these temples all across Spira, which is the place we live. Waka explains that he is a guardian to an apprentice summoner who is going into the Cloister of Trials in this temple. When they go in the Cloister of Trials, they have to complete a couple puzzles, and when they get to the far back, they make a prayer. If that prayer is accepted, they become a full-fledged summoner, gaining something called an Aeon. Aeons are this Final Fantasy's version of a summon. In lots of different Final Fantasies, you have the ability to summon large creatures to do lots of damage. Familiar creatures like Shiva and Ifrit and Bahamut, all those ones, and you will have them in this game too. Waka then says, well, it's been a day since she's been in there, and we haven't heard back from them. So maybe they failed? We don't know. Titus is like, well, let's go in there and fix things. So he just runs in there, which is apparently against this religion's rules. And this is the beginning of how often we're gonna go against this religion. Waka does protest because he is a very devout Yevan follower, but we still go inside and we complete the puzzles. Now, each of these Cloister of Trials, which there are several we'll go throughout the game, use these spheres. And there are a couple. There are Bhed spheres because we are in the town of Bhed. There are glyph spheres, which will just activate glyphs on the walls. And there are destruction spheres, which will blow up walls and allow you to get to special items in each of the Cloister of Trials, some of which you really want because the items are just really good. So you want to take the time to go around putting the spheres in specific walls and finding your way through. And before you finish the area, find the destruction sphere and use it on the correct wall to find the special item. Now, it's not too hard to find where they want you to put the destruction sphere, but you're never penalized if you find it and you can't figure out where it goes right away. You can keep putting it into different walls until you finally find it. But this is how this goes. You're going to walk around and push objects, do the RPG puzzle systems where you just kind of go around and click on things until everything lines up and you're able to get through. After the puzzle, we meet two more party members that we'll have shortly, Lulu and Kamari. Kamari's cool, but Lulu's the one we really want. In fact, we talked to her a bunch because apparently there's some kind of affection system where we get her to like be affectionate towards us a couple times near the end of the game. I don't know. I talked to her a bunch because everyone likes Lulu because she's cool. She's a black mage. She's got belts all over and she's goth. Anyway, they're pretty pissed that we just barged in there, especially since they're just waiting for Yuna to finish praying. Yuna is the summoner that we were waiting for, and we thought we were coming to save. Well, she just finally comes stumbling out of this random door in the back of this room where she had been praying for who knows how long, a day? I don't know, that's a long time for her to pray, but apparently she was successful. After all the commotion, we finally all go to bed, although we do wake up in the middle of the night to hear Lulu and Waka arguing. Both of them think that I look like Waka's brother Chapu, although they wouldn't be speaking about him like this if he was alive, so at this point, we assume that he is dead. Anyway, Lulu is pissed about this and just like shoves it off. Obviously, she liked Chapu, and when he died, it was a pretty hard blow to everyone, so we move on. We still don't know what the fuck is going on, especially since we're 1,000 years in the future. And sadly, it seems like they're gonna leave without me because they're helping this summoner on her pilgrimage to all of the different temples to get all of the different Aeons so that she can fight sin. Something that a lot of different summoners will do. Go on a pilgrimage so that they can finally get enough power to beat that monster, which I think is a good idea at this point, but we're gonna be left behind. Luckily, Waka talks them into letting me go along just until a certain point, especially since I'm a Blitzball player and I'm gonna help their team, even though we're in the middle of a pilgrimage to kill the strongest monster in the world who's killing everyone. We're gonna play some Blitzball. So that's, we got our priorities straight. The next set of areas are a bunch of tutorial battles, something that I feel like, for 4 hours into the game we shouldn't be having, but we do have them. It explains things like resistances and party members that do specific things. That way you can take on battles in the correct order. Obviously, a flying enemy is not easy for anyone with melee melee to hit, but someone like Lulu and her magic or Waka and his Blitzball can hit them very easily. And when Lulu comes in and she uses magic on certain enemies, they might be weak to it. So you need to make sure that you're using the proper party members with the proper abilities so that you can beat these battles easily. And it goes over this for a while until finally we get to a part where we talk about the Aeons. Now the Aeons do take over battle. It's a little bit different than the older Final Fantasies. You press the button, you hit the Aeon that you want, and then they come out in the battle and they have their own set of moves and their own overdrive and everything. If they die, they just pull your party members back in and you continue the fight. That's actually a really good buffer for something like big moves an enemy or a boss might make. If you don't think you can survive it, bring out an Aeon, let them die in your place, and you can continue the battle. And also, depending on how you've leveled up your character, they can also be a finisher or just someone to take tons and tons of damage off of the enemy's health pool. The party gets on a boat where they head to the next temple. During the boat ride, you can search around the ship, talk to people, find items, learn a little bit more about what's going on. You learn that Yuna's father was the last summoner to fight Sin, and he was able to make it all the way there. So her father is very famous. More often than not, summoners are very famous. They're looked upon with lots of favor because they're here to defeat Sin and bring 10 years of calm. Every time a summoner beats Sin, it's 10 years of calm and then he comes back. So they have to have another summoner do another pilgrimage, which seems fishy. Anyway, Tidus talks about understanding her position because his dad, Jecht, was famous for being a Blitzball player. He was also famous for walking out on Tidus when he was little and being a shitty ass father. So he knows it's tough when your father's famous. Although in Yuna's case, her father was pretty nice, and in Tidus' case, Jecht was a little dick. Eventually, Tidus and Yuna start talking, and he promises to take her to Zanarkand. You know, the place that was in ruins? Well, it's not a party until Sin shows up, and Sin shows up. This battle is a little special. You see, Sin drives by the side of the boat, and we have a harpoon in his side to keep us with him. He will shoot Sin Spawn off of his back onto the ship, and we can kill the Sin Spawn. As long as you don't hit Sin and knock him around and finish the battle, he will infinitely spawn these little dudes off of his back, and you can continuously kill them and get experience. So this is a good place to have either a turbo controller or using an emulator and setting it so that it just goes all night, and eventually you'll come back to these characters having an enormous amount of experience. That being said, this fight really isn't that hard. All you have to do is damage Sin enough to make the game progress, where eventually Tidus and Waka get knocked off the ship and fight underwater for a moment, and then we get to see Sin destroy the village we were going to for the pilgrimage. And he just kills a bunch of people, destroys a bunch of shit, and we go there and we actually are able to like help out. I mean, not us as a player, but our party members help out. We get to walk around and talk to people because it's an RPG. Here we learn a little bit more about what a summoner does. They don't just go on a pilgrimage to destroy Sin. They are also able to send the spirits of dead people to rest. And if they don't, you become Sin Spawn or a fiend or something bad. I don't know, a monster. So this religion does have some significance. Anyway, after Yuna's done doing some kind of Fortnite dance, we do end up having to do the Cloister of Trials for this area because she still needs to learn the next Aeon summon. We head through a forest where we fight this plant boss. He's one of the very first bosses you're going to be able to fight without a tutorial. He's not really that hard, and at this point we're powerful enough with enough abilities to take him on pretty quickly. We then head into the Cloister of Trials area at the very beginning of the temple where we meet another summoner on a pilgrimage. Her name is Donna, and she wears even less clothing. Anyway, she's jealous of Yuna, obviously being Braska's daughter and the person who last killed Sin. She decides to do something kind of shitty to Yuna. See, this religion has the summoner guarded by guardians, and everyone there, except for Tidus, is a guardian. So they all go into the Cloister of Trials with her while you have to wait on the outside. And if I were to go in, apparently Yuna would get in trouble. This is against the religion to have me go in. I'm not technically a guardian. So Donna has her man pick me up and throw me into the Cloister of Trials, where then I have to solve the puzzles and reach them and hope they don't punish Yuna for this. This Cloister of Trials puzzle really isn't significant enough to talk about. There's only a few pedestals and a few spheres that you must switch around, and eventually you do get some fire to burn a little gate down and you head on. It really only took about 15 minutes to do. But once I get in there, obviously everyone freaks out because what the fuck am I doing here? She's gonna get excommunicated apparently. Well, really nothing we can do at this point, so they just keep me around. And they talk to me a little bit more about what makes the Aeons, the Valfor, the Aeon that we first got, and the Aeon we're about to get. Apparently, Yevan just took someone's soul willingly, like the person gave up their soul willingly to become a summon, an Aeon for a summoner to use. And then they put them in the statue, and anytime a summoner comes up and prays to them and begs for their help, they emerge, and they're called Faith, but not Faith, Fayth. Yuna apparently gets down on her knees and prays in just the right way and is able to get the next Aeon, Ifrit, which is a very popular Final Fantasy summon. Ifrit's awesome. Anyway, when she comes out, Tidus starts to realize some uncanny resemblances between some of the things he's seeing in the temples and this religion all the way back to when he was in Zanarkand 1,000 years ago. Like the song he hears. Apparently it's a childhood song, and it's starting to really weird him out. We get back on the ship and head out to the next temple, where we must do another Cloister of Trials. But during the ship ride, at night, Tidus sneaks up and listens to Lulu and Waka's conversation. They are talking about what to do with Tidus, and he's just kind of still hanging around. Yuna wants to make him her guardian because she believes he is Jek's son, but no one else knows what to do because no one knows him. Tidus honestly has a huge problem here. I mean, just imagine being abandoned by your father, who is already a shitty father, in one world, and then 10 years later, you happen to get sucked into a new world where he's just as fucking famous, but he's famous for being nice and good and helpful. So he has to miss his dad being a good person, and now he's just missing in this world. We also get to see a flashback where Tidus remembers a time he tried to copy his father's blitzball technique because his father is a famous blitzball player. Well, he can't do it. He's like 9. So his dad comes up and makes fun of him and then shows him how to do it. Well, now that you're in the future, we have a chance to learn it ourselves, and he remembers what happened when his dad did the move. So we must emulate it by pressing directions of the memories that pop up, but it was really confusing at first because the tutorial for it shows little directions on the screen. It shows the D-pad. So I'm expecting when the actual scene comes up to do it, it would show D-pad directions. But no, it's literally just little captions of the phrases being said in the memories, and you have to push them the direction they show up. So it was really confusing. I had to reset and try it again. Anyway, if you do this correctly, you learn how to do the Jekt shot, which is for Blitzball, which we still haven't done yet, and we will do soon though. We eventually make it to Luca, the enormous city where we're gonna have the Blitzball tournament. We meet 2 new characters, Micah, who is the Grand Maester of the religion Yevan, and Seymour Guado, who is a half human, half Guado, the Guado being another race of people on Spira. He is also a Maester, and he's following in his own father's footsteps of trying to foster good relations between the humans and the Guado. After this, we finally get our first tutorial for the minigame Blitzball, which is something you can choose to do or not do. I don't do it. I'm not a big fan of Blitzball. You can spend as much time as you'd like in the tutorial learning all of the different things, and you could actually get good at it and find lots and lots of good, helpful items. In fact, this is a place where you'll find so many helpful items that will get you what you want and make your characters overpowered. And I'm serious. If you play this a lot and you enjoy Blitzball, this is a way to get your characters overpowered while still having fun. However, it's a very difficult game to play. You're in a big sphere of water passing around the ball and shooting it into the goals. Think of it like some rugby soccer thing underwater. You can tackle opponents, you can throw the ball, you can shoot the ball, and all these stats on the characters butt heads with each other when you choose to shoot, depending on how many blockers there are. There's the goalie's numbers you have to worry about, and you can recruit people into your Blitzball team all around the world. Anyone you talk to, if you press square, you can then invite them to join your team and even sign a contract where you can then play with them for a certain number of games. I would say if you want to learn Blitzball, there are many different videos online to teach you, but I will not be able to teach you here. So I play the game exactly one time and never come back because I'm just not good at it. Before the actual Blitzball game, where our team is actually lauded as being the worst team in history, which is told to us many times by many Blitzball players and even an announcer who's announcing all of this information about how bad we are throughout the entire city of Luca. Yuna is suddenly excited because she hears that her old friend Orin is in town. And Orin is the guy who threw us up into sin, the guy who was supposed to know us and be taking care of us or helping us, whatever. We already know him, but apparently he's also known here, which is really weird. Turns out he was a guardian for Braska, alongside her own dad, so that's pretty cool. But before she can even go out to find him, she gets captured by some other Blitzball players and hopes that our team would forfeit, even though they were the worst team, but Tidus, Kamari, and Lulu have to go get her back. Now this is during the Blitzball game. Waka was kind of hoping that we would play, being that we say that we're a really good Blitzball player, but we can't. We have to save Yuna. So instead of playing Blitzball, we've got to go save her. Now the Blitzball team that took Yuna are the Bhed Blitzball team, which are the people that saved us near the beginning of the game. They are actually pretty hated by a lot of people in Spira because they go against the teachings of Yevan by using Machina. They were told by Yevan to not use Machina and it's bad, don't do it. This religion is not about Machina. And especially Waka, out of everyone, is very rigid about that. He believes wholeheartedly that the Bhed are are evil. So the Bhed steal her, and he says, yeah, go save her. So he plays the Blitzball game, and we get to see little cuts into his game while we're running around trying to save Yuna. We eventually fight some Bhed people in a big Machina device that they have, where we have to use the trigger command during our battle to have Titus go try and start this crane up. We need the crane to do a bunch of damage to the Machina itself by using the trigger commands, which is kind of cool. It's not a big thing, but it is necessary to beat it. Once we beat the Machina, we save Yuna, and Lulu sends a signal into the sky where Waka, playing his Blitzball game, sees it and takes that push of happiness that Yuna got rescued and wins the game. For the first time, their team won a game in the Blitzball Championship. And Waka, saying that this is his last set of tournaments because he's getting older and wants to be done, this is his last hurrah. So this is great. He's finally won one, but he's very tired and doesn't know if he can continue on without the help from Titus. Obviously, we were saving Yuna, but now it's time for this last game to have Titus join in. Here is our first actual Blitzball game we get to play, and I, of course, lose because I don't know how to play Blitzball very well. There is a way you're supposed to be able to win easily if you hide behind a goal after making your own goal, and they just can't get you to like initiate any of the actions in the game, so you can just sit there holding on the ball, but I don't know how to do that, and I never even really got a goal. It was just difficult, man. They kind of set you up to lose for this one because the other team is so difficult, and you have to have the starting team, or you can go around maybe and recruit people, I'm not sure, but I did a really bad job. However, after the game, even if you win or lose, you do have to fight some enemies, some sin enemies that come up out of nowhere. We fight through the water, and then we get to see Orin in the stands fighting some monsters there. We get to use him, and then we also get to see Seymour come out and summon an Aeon, just like Yuna. Although he summons an abomination that looks crazy, although everyone likes it because, you know, it blinks everything to death, which is great. And someone in the chat said that this was Seymour mom, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Sounds like a wonderful relationship they have together. I don't know how she... That's crazy. After that whole ordeal, Waka tells his Blitzball team that he's done with Blitzball forever, and now you're the captain, so you get to control the Blitzball team from here on out and play as many Blitzball games as you want if you can find the heart and the stomach to do it. I mean, some people really like the game, so I'm not going to bash it, but I'm just not good at it. Although there are plenty of really good rewards, so it is worth trying to learn if you can, you know, put the time in. But beyond that, we finally get to talk to Orin, who explains to Titus that he made a promise to Jekt, Titus's dad, that he would come find him and help him. In fact, he was the reason that I am here in Spira now. He brought me over here. That was the whole thing. Jekt wanted me here. And he said, well, Jekt is actually Sin. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. His dad is Sin. So we have to go kill Sin. And it's also my dad, which is great. And we're probably stuck here forever. We definitely are. Orin's just being nice about it, but we're stuck here. We meet back up with the gang, and Orin reveals that he promised Braska that he would be Yuna's guardian and help her, but also that he promised Jekt that he would keep an eye on Titus. Obviously, we need to go kill Sin, and his dad is Sin, so he's got to come along. Although he does not reveal that to everyone else. Titus is the only one who knows his dad is Sin. We then get to the infamous laughing scene. This scene is supposed to be awkward. Titus and Yuna are both kind of feeling bad about everything that's happened. Yuna has a secret, Titus has a secret, and they're both trying to live with that terrible, dark secret. So they decide it's time to laugh, because why not? I mean, all this bad stuff's going on, you still gotta be able to live, right? Unless living means laughing like a fucking ass, then no, we should not be living. We head out towards the next temple for Yuna to get another Aeon, and on the way there's tons of fights, people to talk to, the ability to play Blitzball. This is about as open as it's going to get at the beginning of the game, until we get an airship way later and we're able to travel by ourselves. We have everyone in the party that's necessary except for one member, so any levels you're going to get is going to help throughout the rest of the game. I fought practically every battle from here until the next boss because it's really good experience, and we also get a lot of good items out of it, and we'll need to keep our level high because in this game, going through the sphere grid is really, really helpful. Getting all the abilities that you have, that each character has access to, is going to be what makes it possible to beat a boss and not possible to beat a boss. You need specific things like weaknesses and ways to protect yourself because a lot of the bosses have these puzzle elements to them. Figure out what you need to do so that you can beat him, not just blast him over and over and heal through everything. That just doesn't work in this game. You need to have the proper spells and abilities to be able to beat these bosses. At this point, because I'm not playing Blitzball, I didn't get any of the teleport spheres to shoot people around the sphere grid to different places. So they're just going through their own little paths, which are kind of pre-selected for them so that they get the abilities that you are expected to get on them. And this is going to be like this for quite some time. So we just go forward board, and Yuna learns white magic, Lulu learns black magic, Titus is our support, time mage, Orin's our big heavy hitter, Kamari learns some cool enemy skills, Waka hits flying enemies and does some blind attacks. It's all good. We eventually stop at a place to rest, and Yuna and Titus come outside to talk, and they both speak about how they wish things were simpler and they weren't forced into these situations, which really does make sense. They just want simple lives and not to have to worry about a pilgrimage or being brought back from your time and probably never going back. This is a really difficult situation to be in. If this were a real situation, you'd probably find yourself extremely stressed out and very confused. So this makes sense. At this place we've stopped to rest at, they have chocobos, which are the bird creatures you can ride in most Final Fantasy games. But they are being attacked by a chocobo eater, and he's a little boss we fight. Now there's two ways to kill this boss. Just kill him or push him over the edge of the cliff. If you can push him over the edge of the cliff, you get a couple special rewards. Rewards that are helpful because you need these different spheres to get around the sphere grid, and they give you special things if you fight bosses in a certain way or do certain things, come back and find these special hidden things. So it is worth getting this guy over the cliff, even if you have to heal him to make sure he doesn't die before he falls over the cliff. After we beat this boss, we get to ride some of the chocobos for free, where we ride along the paths, finding treasure chests, fighting enemies, until eventually we get to a checkpoint that we cannot pass. This is because beyond this point, Seymour Guado is setting up an attack on Sin with some very specific things they think might be able to defeat him. One of them is Machina. He has a huge list of Machina with Bhed members going to fire them at Sin, and of course Waka is very upset at this. So to get over there, we pretty much just walk around, getting some ideas from characters about what to do, just learning a few things, until finally Seymour himself tries to come through the checkpoint. He sees us, and obviously Yuna's dad, Braska, was the last one to defeat Sin 10 years ago, so he invites her to come help him during this battle, and they let us through. We go to the battlefield where there's a bunch of Machina and people all ready to fight, and what they're doing is they're gathering some of the Sin spawn that Sin has spawned on land, and this will retract him. He doesn't want to leave his Sin spawn behind, so they believe that making these things scream by like torturing them and getting him to come closer to land will make it possible for them to use these super special secret weapons they think have a chance at killing him. Like I said before, Waka is not happy about all of this Machina. Obviously, Yevan does not permit us to use Machina because this is just how their religion works, man. Just how the religion works. So Waka's upset, and Seymour tries his best to convince him. Seymour Guado, one of these huge, well-known members of society who's helping and doing all these special things, who is part of Yevan, or supposed to be, is trying to convince another member of Yevan that it's okay to go against the teachings for one reason or another. This is obviously starting to unravel the religion entirely for the player, but also for Waka, who is having somewhat of a crisis hearing someone so high up in this religion's order talk about just ignoring some of the things the religion has forbade. So it's really difficult for him to understand. They release the Sin spawn so that we can start torturing it to get Sin to come get it, and we have to fight it ourselves. We must stand there while it's waiting for Sin to come get it. And to fight this dude, there are three different parts of him: his hands, his chest, and his head. His head casts spells, his hands block his chest, and his chest is really the thing you need to destroy. So you spend time breaking the hands, breaking the head, until you can finally get to the chest where you deal the real damage. This guy isn't necessarily super difficult, especially if you've been playing Blitzball, getting some items, leveling up outside of Blitzball, all that stuff. I had a little bit of trouble because I'm moving quickly through these games, so I wasn't quite as prepared as I could have been. However, it wasn't too hard of a battle. And once we get to the end of it, well, Sin gets attacked by all the Machina, and unsurprisingly, it doesn't fucking work. This thing is just so powerful. Seymour enters the fight and helps us fight this thing even more because, well, Sin's gone crazy and the Sin spawn's beating everyone up, so we have to fight it. And he is very helpful. It pretty much makes the battle an auto win. But at the end of the battle, Sin destroys everything and kills practically everyone except our party. I mean, obviously, I'm Sin's son, so I get grandfathered in. And then Seymour lives, of course, because he's an enigma. Titus jumps into the water and tries to start swimming after Sin, which is completely pointless. I don't know how he's gonna catch this enormous monster. But while he's under the water, he has a vision of a long time ago when he was talking to his father, and his father's like, I can stop drinking whenever I want. And young Titus says, well, then do it now. And his dad's like, why do today what you can just do tomorrow? And it's like, God damn it, dude, your dad sucks. Yuna tries to help from the beach, but Seymour stops stops her for some reason or another. I mean, he doesn't really seem like that helpful of a guy. At this point, he's going against the teachings of Yevan and acting kind of weird for the position he's in, such a high-ranking religious official. After all this settles down, everyone just kind of stands on the beach and contemplates what just happened, until eventually, after talking to everyone, we have to continue the pilgrimage, otherwise there's no chance at killing Sin. After a bit of trekking through an area where we fight quite a bit, we find a lightning mushroom rock, which apparently only reacts when the summoner is talking to the faith, and it's already open, which means that another summoner is inside. It's just another summoner that we've seen a few times. She doesn't really necessarily matter that much to the story, but her name is Donna, and she has this one dude with her, a guardian, and Yuna has like 6 of us, so it's a little weird that Donna has 1, and she thinks she's gonna make it, but she's already in there, so we walk around for a little bit and let Yuna rest, and until everything is ready, and we decide to go in and get our own faith, which we go through another puzzle. This puzzle isn't necessarily big or terribly difficult. I think it just took me a minute because it's hard to figure out where and what order you need to put the little spheres into the pedestals. And the biggest thing for me was not realizing that once you open the door, you can push this pedestal into the open air nothingness and then jump on it to get across. That just didn't strike me as the thing I needed to do, so it took me a moment to figure out. But once I do, we do finally get our next summon, which is Ixion. This area was short and simple, but now we must travel across the water from Moonflow South Bank to the North Bank so that we can continue on our pilgrimage. To do so, we've got to ride a shoe puff, this big elephant kind of water looking creature that takes us across the water, and during that time, the characters are of course talking, but eventually Waka goes on this large kind of racist rant about the Bhed people and how he hates them and how they're screwing everything up. And of course, the second he says that, the shoe puff gets attacked by this underwater Machina, and so we go fight it, we go underwater and fight it, and once we beat it, which is not too bad, it's a pretty simple fight, and once we get back on the shoe puff to continue our journey, Waka says a bunch more shit about the Bhed people. He just won't stop. They do mention something a little interesting though. Many different summoners have been disappearing during their pilgrimage, and they're worried that Yuna will also disappear. Most likely the Bhed people are the ones taking them away. But we don't have much to go on except for Waka's racism, so we continue on and we reach the North Bank. When we do so, Tidus walks ahead a little bit to find Riku, the woman from the beginning of the game, undressing, sexily I guess, I'm not sure why, but she was the one in the machine that attacked us, and she's like, oh yeah, it was a good time, and it's like, wait, so we just destroyed you in a machine, you were trying to take Yuna from us, what the fuck is going on with you? But no, we just accept her and we try to convince everyone she's okay to bring along. And just so you know, the Bhed people have different kinds of irises in their eyes. It's very obvious that their eyes look different. But someone like Waka, who is for some reason racist against them, but also doesn't know much about them, doesn't realize she is Bhed. Everyone else does. He doesn't though. So he looks at her and is like, oh yeah, if she's a friend of yours, then she's a friend of ours. And we continue on. After we get Riku on our team, we get shown how her overdrive works, because her overdrive is just a little different. She uses an overdrive called mixing, where she takes 2 items, puts them together, and makes a powerful effect. Most of the time, these effects are damage, healing, shielding of some sort during battle that will affect bosses and enemies and party alike. But her mixing is a little bit broken, and especially online, if you look, you can find ways to find special items where if you mix them, you are unkillable, or all of your attacks do 9,999 damage, no matter what level or what stats or anything you have on your character. So she definitely has some of the best ways to break the game or make it easier if you find those items and mix them properly. The journey continues until we finally reach the home of Seymour Guado, of the Guado race. We are invited in as they are expecting us for some reason. We have dinner and they explain a lot of different things to us about the history of Spira. Things like the Guado race didn't used to be looked upon favorably by humans, which sounds about right. So a Guado and a human married and had a child, which was Seymour Guado, and it was kind of like this marriage that would help bring about peace and start a conversation about this with humans instead of just them being angry, kind of like Waka is toward the Bhed people. We also get to see Zanarkand 1,000 years in the past, where Tidus lived not too long ago, technically, and we get to see a lady named Yunalesca and another man, and they're being married, and this is what Seymour is talking about, this marriage that's supposed to help get the Guado and the humans to work together. And then he turns around and proposes to Yuna. Now, Seymour is half human, half Guado. Yuna is half Bhed, half human, and so this marriage will just be everyone's getting together and it's gonna make this crazy, mix of everyone, which is fine, but his whole idea is that it's supposed to help ease the troubles of everyone in Spira one way or another. He comes up with some random things to say about about that, although it doesn't really make sense, especially since she's supposed to be going to kill Sin, and I don't see how a marriage between the two at this point, when she's about to go do all that stuff, is helpful, but maybe there's a sentiment that I'm not understanding about Spira, so I don't know. Next, we decide to go to the Far Plane, the place where people go when they die and are sent by a summoner. I don't know why we're going here, because none of the dead people can talk to us. It's practically just like, here's an image of them, you can talk at them, and that's it. They just stand there and stare at you. So everyone does that. In fact, Titus even does that, and he sees his own mom, and it brings up even more questions. First of all, that was 1,000 fucking years ago. Second, he says, but she wasn't sent by a summoner. You're right, she fucking wasn't. So Yuna says, well, she must have accepted death while she was still alive. Okay, alright, look guys, I don't understand how the deaths here work. I don't understand how deaths here work. Because not only that, after everyone talks and tries to figure things out, Seymour's father, Lord Jiskel, just steps out of the Far Plane, coming in for a visit, I guess, from being dead. Apparently this is bad, so Yuna hurriedly sends him. But in sending him, he drops something. It's a small recording device, and she doesn't tell anyone that she's picked it up. She keeps it to herself. This honestly raises even more questions about the dead people. How is he carrying it? Why is he here? Why did he get sent? Is he still back in the Far Plane? Can he come back out? Why was he holding something? After all this, we find out that Seymour has headed out already, and before we can leave, we have to wait for Yuna, who has locked herself in a room and is just not coming out. We're not really sure what she's doing, but this entire time, other people in the party are trying to convince Titus that this marriage is okay and to just accept it, even though it doesn't make any goddamn sense. She comes out of her room and lies about everything being okay, and she does want to give the answer that she will marry Seymour. So everyone leaves to go find. Next, we must pass through the Thunder Plains, which is a very notorious place for one big reason: the fact that you must dodge 200 lightning bolts that come down during your travels through this area to get Titus's final weapon, or at least part of it, although you cannot get that until later in the game. As for now, you can dodge lightning and still get some rewards. Instead, I focus on a little bit of grinding, because this area is pretty short, and at this point in the game, I haven't really been able to do anything crazy. I've kept all of my characters in their respective sphere grid areas, because I didn't do any Blitzball, and Blitzball is really the spot that you're going to find ways to do cool things with the sphere grid if you are early game. Later game, I do some stuff, but I don't have enough spheres to let me teleport or move around the board in a way that gets them out of their starting areas. So I'm gonna be stuck there until I get teleport and friend spheres. So right now, I'm just kind of leveling up to get some extra health, some extra damage, a few extra new spells that will help me exploit enemy weaknesses, as well as buffing myself. After doing some grinding in the Thunder Plains, we make it to this woody area where we're supposed to go through to reach Seymour. We can stop to collect some butterflies for some rewards, and we can also just do some grinding here. And eventually we get to a boss that's this big sphere of water, and it changes its resistances and weaknesses over the course of the battle, and you have to kind of pay attention to what it does and know what it is weak to. I beat it in the first go. It doesn't take me too long. I do make several mistakes, like casting a spell that heals it like 1,000 or 2,000 health, which kind of sucks, but that just happens to me sometimes. I'm a fucking idiot. After the battle, we get a special sphere, which Jekt, my father, has used to record his journey with Yuna's dad, Lord Braska, and a younger Orin. You can find these all over the place, and they do unlock things, but the shitty thing about it is that we literally get to see recordings of our dad having a good time here. He does talk about showing this to his wife and kid, but it just, he's a shitty dad, he just kind of disappears, and then we get to see recordings of him having a good time here. We reach a snowy area where we meet a Guado named Trammel, who says he's so sorry Seymour is way ahead of us. He didn't realize we were going to have an answer for him this soon, but that he is going to tell Seymour to wait at the next town so we can talk to him. However, we get attacked by Bhed, and they call out to Riku, which then gives Waka the idea that she might be Bhed. But then we fight a big tank that they're in. We destroy the tank fairly easily. He's very weak to thunder, so we take it out quick, and once that's done, Orin tries to set us up with some of these Machina devices, which are pretty much just snowmobiles, so that we can get Yuna and everyone out of here. Waka loses his mind, of course, and we all get on the snowmobiles and take off. He finally does relent and get on. Titus gets on a snowmobile with Lulu, and we take off. Everyone starts to go for the next town. They start talking, and Titus shows his displeasure at Yevan, the religion, causing Waka to be so hard-headed and not ask questions, which is absolutely true. That's what religion does. So then he asks her, do you think Sin can be a human? See, we are already aware that our dad is Sin, and he wants to know exactly what other people think, because we're new to this place, and this all is crazy to him. We are flung into this insane situation. And Lulu says, I don't know much about Sin, but no one does, because there's not a reason to ask. There's no reason to know. You either fight or you run. which, no, that's not it. There are so many more things you could do. Titus is absolutely upset about this because he knows the actual answer, and it's really frustrating that the people of this world seem to be so close-minded about it. No one wants to ask any questions. And then he says aloud something about his dad, and she's like, what? And he's like, nah, never mind. We arrive, and Yuna is taken away by Seymour to talk for a little while, and she actually goes through her own trial by herself all the way down to get the next Aeon, and we're just kind of left by ourselves, although Orin does snatch that recording sphere that she had, and we all watch it. Turns out Seymour's a bad guy. His dad, Jessica, says, oh, he killed me, I'll accept it, but he's a bad egg, so you gotta stop him. So we're like, okay, yeah, we'll go stop him. We learn that he's just not a good person. He's using all of this stuff, the Yevan and the Maesters and Yuna, for his own gain in some way. It doesn't actually say exactly what. So we go kick his ass. He tries to fight back, but we beat the shit out of him. During his boss battle, the Guado next to him actually keep using potions to heal. But if you steal, you can steal the potions and they can't heal anymore, which makes it much easier to fight them. At the end of the battle, Orin's like, send him. And they can't because she just doesn't do the sending. I don't know. They like pick him up and carry him away, but I don't know why. Is he dead? So I don't understand. Is that his corpse? He looked like he was alive. I'm really not sure what's going on. Anyway, Waka's head is about to explode for us having attacked a maester, and now we're traitors, and this is just too much for the poor religious dude. So everyone gets together and we have to escape, and we have to do the puzzle backwards. So last time, whenever we do a trial, we always do a puzzle and then get the Aeon. Well, we got the Aeon, and now we need to do the puzzle to leave. This puzzle is just a series of pushing pedestals around and putting spheres on them in the right order. Once you do that, you can get out. But if you make a mistake, most of the time you must restart the entire puzzle, because the mistake is something that just pushes the pedestal off of the entire level and it's gone. So you gotta restart. Or you push it into a corner you can't push it out of. You gotta restart. So this one's a little annoying. It's not hard, it's just keep pushing things until you get it right, and then restarting if you don't. That's it. Before we are arrested after all of this stuff for being traitors, we just push past them and run. On our way out, we do end up getting attacked by a Wendigo, who's being healed on both sides by Guado. Of course, you can steal their potions, and then they just are done. But once we beat the Wendigo, the ice cracks below us, and we fall very far down, which is kind of odd. Somehow everyone is fine, and we wake up in these old ruins, and we look forward, and we can see the place we were just at, or at least the base of it. The world has changed quite a bit. There are a lot of mysteries left unsolved, and definitely things left forgot. While they're down here, they realize that there's more to this world than anyone had even considered in this time period. I mean, Lulu said that they don't really think about things because there's no reason to think about them. So now it's starting to become apparent. And while we're down here, Titus finally hypes everyone up once we get together, and we're finally going to actually leave, or try to figure out a way to leave, and then Sin starts singing. Well, it's our dad, and he's singing, and it's reminiscent of when we were younger, and this is the first time Titus truly believes that Sin is his dad. Of course, we've talked about it, and Orin has told us many times, but it was not until now that he truly believed it really was his dad. He could feel it in his bones. And for a brief moment after that, we just go insane. The toxin that Sin releases has done something to us, and we wake up in a desert. So that's pretty cool. This desert is actually the home of the Bhed, an island on the far reaches of Spiro where it's separated from all of the normal people, is what Waka would say. When we wake up, we have to find all our party members and travel through the desert, fighting sandworms and other enemies, until we realize that Yuna is missing. At this point, we've learned that the Bhed are taking the summoners, and because they don't believe in Yevan, which, yeah, I don't think I do either. So she suggests that they might have taken Yuna there for safekeeping. We head there, and it is already being attacked, probably because Seymour is following us all over the goddamn place. He is definitely much more than he seems to be. We travel through the city fighting off various enemies until we finally get inside of a building. Once we do, we learn a couple more new things. We learn that Riku's dad, Sid, is actually the one who brought all the Bhed together when they were scattered for using Machina from, you know, Yevan's teachings and shit. So they actually are on this island because of her dad, and they are a whole race of people together again because her dad brought them together and built up this home, which is great. But then we learn, of course, the reason why the Bhed are trying to capture the summoners. And this is the thing that Titus hasn't learned the whole time, and that kind of sucks. Summoners, when they do their pilgrimage and get to Sin, must sacrifice themselves to kill Sin, and for 10 years, which then he comes back. Well, that kind of sucks, and Titus didn't know that Yuna is literally on her way to her own death. He pleads and yells at everyone, and of course everyone's like, well, we tried to stop her, it's what she wanted. It's like, okay. Titus now joins Waka in his spiral downward, of course for a different reason. And once we do finally get out of the city because of Riku's dad, we get on an airship. Yes, an airship, Final Fantasy, known for its airships near the end of the game, where you can use to traverse the whole map much easier and find all this cool stuff, which is what we will do eventually. However, there's quite a bit of story and just things tying up as we get on the airship. We start to learn a little bit more about where Yuna is, we hone in on our coordinates, we decide that we're going to use the airship to save her and to get around Spira. Eventually, before we're able to do anything, we get attacked by a huge dragon fiend, and so now we've got to go fight him. So we go to the top of the ship, and there's a new mechanic in this fight. You can have the ship move closer and move further away from the boss. Doing this allows you to hit him with melee attacks when you move in close, but it allows him to also hit you with some shit. So what you need to do is you need to balance going to him and going away from him to both heal up when you're further away and to dodge big attacks he has. Now, characters that use magic or Waka using his Blitzball can hit him from far away. However, that's just not enough. There's only a couple people who can use magic unless you've built them up better. Then you just don't have the chance to do that. You're gonna have to get in close to do all the damage you need to do. Now, in the end, I realized it was just, I was doing it wrong. I was not timing out moving away and moving closer well enough, so I just tanked all the damage by using shell and protect on everyone, healing up as fast as I could, and generally just dealing a bunch of damage. Killing this thing doesn't save us entirely though, as the ship is fucking smoking. Well, we happen to get to the place where Yuna is about to get married to Seymour. See, he's forcing her to marry him at this point. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So we do the best FMV sequence in the whole series, where we crash the wedding by riding down the cables in a very cool manner. Look how cool we are, guys. When I was younger, this was like the coolest thing you could have ever done. After fighting a bunch of dudes, we do stop the wedding, and Yuna just kind of dives off of the side of this big, huge thing she's on, and she gets caught by Valfor, her Aeon. So we've got to go down to get to her, but to get to her, we have to do a puzzle. And this puzzle is just, it's just long. And you've got these little grids that move around, and you have stand on it, and every time you move through, you've got to press a direction when there comes a fork in the road. And you press the direction, you go that direction, you've got to go the correct ways. Otherwise, you fall off and you start over, or you go to a dead end and you've got to come back. It just takes a long time. It's not hard, it's just grab a sphere, go over here, put the sphere in here. Now go back, go grab another sphere, go take it to this place. Ride this stupid little platform everywhere, and if you forget to press the button at the right time to go left, you're just gonna go straight and fall off and restart. It's annoying. I've never really liked these puzzles. We do arrive and find Yuna, and she's okay, and she gets dressed back into her normal clothing somehow, and then we get on trial. Seymour is, of course, pissed that we're traitors. So he gets us in front of a bunch of the other maesters, and we plead our case by beginning with Maester Seymour killed his dad and is also already dead. That's right, Maester Seymour is already dead, just like his dad who crawled out of the fucking far plane dripping with whatever dead stuff is on you. He's also dead. I don't understand. He looks normal. He's also already dead. What is happening? But the other maesters just laugh at us, and we're like, well, we need to send him, right? Isn't it our job as summoners to send the dead? And he's like, well, then you'd have to send me too, because I'm dead. So this is the worst case scenario. A bunch of old crotchety dudes who won't die and are in power. How the fuck do you get around this? Apparently you don't. They throw us into jail and then toss the Blitzball players, who regularly hold their breath for hours, into some water and tell us to go. First it's like, wait, is this supposed to be a punishment? We can just swim under here pretty easily. So once we find all of our characters after being jailed and probably being put somewhere we're supposed to die, we meet another summoner who has been summoned to fight the traitors. So he fights Yuna. It's a one-on-one battle. You use all your summons and you have to kill all his summons. So that's what I do. And when you win, apparently that guy's pilgrimage is over, which, yeah, I mean, we beat the crap out of him. What else is he gonna do? He's not strong enough to fight Sin. Shortly after this, we find a dragon in the water, and apparently he's supposed to be the reason that we die. But I realize that he is an undead dragon, which means if you throw Phoenix Downs at him, at the boss, you can kill him with 2. He dies. You even get an overkill, which gives you some more experience, which is great. If you don't know this, the fight's a little tough, I think. I don't remember. I just threw the Phoenix Downs and left. Once we get out of the water, we decide to confront Seymour and attack him. And we do. We fight him, and he's a little bit of a difficult boss. This first version of him is a little special. He holds a shield, and the shield has its own health pool. He also casts a bunch of magic at you, like Break, which will petrify you, and if you're petrified, unless you are healed, anytime you're attacked, you're pretty much just gonna break, shatter, and be dead. You can't even be brought back in that battle. I believe you're just gone until after the battle is over. So you can't switch someone else new in. That spot is just gone. So you've got to bring in some petrify resistance on your characters. Otherwise, you're just going to lose. Anyway, the shield has its own health pool, and every so often, the shield, if you damage it, will take health from Seymour. So the idea is that Seymour sometimes casts Protect on himself and takes a lot less damage. But if you hit the shield until it loses all its health, it will take straight up health from Seymour. Now at first it has 4,000 health, so you take it down to 0 health and it will take 3,000 from him. Then it will take 2,000, then it'll take 1,000. And then it's so low it's not even worth it. It's better to just dispel the Protect on Seymour and attack him for regular damage. Or that's when you start using magic and summons like Aeons. Now there is another way to beat him, and that's just something I do in the battle. I use Bio, because every turn he is poisoned, it will deal 1440 damage to him, or at least mine did. And that means every turn you're doing at least 1440 damage directly to Seymour by just letting Bio tick, which is super helpful. After a little bit, I defeat him. We make our great escape because apparently this guy just can't fucking die. We go back to the forest, and Titus and Yuna have the most gross, icky love moment in the whole series. It's got this little FMV sequence. They're like making out and, probably banging in the water, which just don't go look at their ages and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Afterwards, everyone rallies together and realizes that they must stop Seymour, because the whole reason that he is doing this is because he wants to become Sin himself. Then he can destroy Spira, because in his own words, if there is life, there is suffering. So if he destroys everything, there won't be any more suffering. It's not like we've heard that one before. And honestly, why is this always something that people think you can do? Well, if there's no life, there's no suffering. Well, if there's no life, there's nothing, bro. That's the whole point of life. Jesus. So we decide it's time to take Seymour down once and for all. We head through an area called the Calm Lands, which is full of endless plains. Now there are things to do here. However, we pass through, and I don't come back to this area. There's no need for me to do that because I'm just looking for credits. So I'm sorry about the monster arena, everyone. Next, we head through Mount Gagazet, where Kimahri must do a 1-on-2 fight with his brothers because he lost his honor at being a Ronso, which is his race. He's a Ronso. And to get his honor back, he must fight his brothers. And it's not a hard fight if apparently you haven't leveled up very much. I guess this fight is more difficult the higher level and the more skills you've learned as Kimahri. For me, who's done very little side content at all, he's not very high level, so I'm able to defeat them very quickly. The real thing to do here is to fight Seymour yet again. He is even stronger, and instead of carrying a shield, he carries a spear, which you can do the same thing. If you deal enough damage to it, it will suck health from him. Although this time, it looks like it has a little bit higher of a threshold for max health, 2,000. So if you can do 2,000 damage to it, it will take 2,000 damage from Seymour. Now he's got a lot of mechanics in this fight. He does a lot of damage. He has some weird auto battle things where if he's set up to a point where he feels like he's safe, he will just auto battle and smack the crap out of you. But the whole idea is he tries to zombie some of your party members and use full life. If he does, they are dead. So you have to revive them. That's tough. Some of his attacks do party-wide possible zombie attacks. Then he's got a total annihilation, which does so much damage. And at this point for me, Orin is the only one at full health, who can survive an annihilation. And then he's got to bring everyone back to life, which I only have 3 Mega Phoenix downs, which will bring everyone back from the dead full life. So as helpful as that would be, I know that I'll need them at some other point in the game too, because this isn't the end of the game. And so I don't use one here. So I am able to beat him by just continuously attacking his lance and him, making sure to keep everyone full health. And sadly, I'm not able to rely on my Aeons, which when you fight Seymour, he is able to just outright banish any of your Aeons that you summon. So you must summon them with their Overdrive ready to deal all the damage they can in one turn. Otherwise, they're just gonna die next turn. Yeah, it does save you a turn, so if you think you might get attacked by something like Total Annihilation, or you're worried that he's ready to do a big attack and you don't have enough, if you bring out an Aeon and let him banish it, you will kind of get an extra turn, which is helpful admittedly, but that makes Aeons not worth as much in battles like these. So you gotta be a little careful. We continue on our journey, getting ever closer to Zanarkand, which is where we need to go to fight Sin. And once we get closer, we fight the Sanctuary Keeper, another large dragon. This one isn't too difficult, not anywhere near as difficult as the Seymour fight we just did. I kill him in one go in about 15 minutes of just focusing and making sure I skip using overdrives and just using things that make him blind, because if he's blind, he misses things like his tail sweep, which will hit the whole party. Before heading into Zanarkand, we get to see what we saw at the very beginning of the game. All of us sitting outside of Zanarkand ready to go in. This is our darkest hour. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't don't know how to defeat Sin. All we know is that Yuna is still committed to sacrificing herself if there's nothing else we can do. But we continue on anyway, fighting tons of monsters until we get to a weird puzzle where you've got to reveal Tetris pieces on the floor by stepping on these dots, and you have to look up at the screen and see what ones you need. When you reveal them, you now know if it was a correct piece or an incorrect piece. So the whole point is to memorize where each of the Tetris pieces are so that you can step on the correct ones. But once you beat it, you have to fight a very difficult boss. This boss has a fun mechanic, I suppose. It's got 6 spaces situated all around the boss, and you can actually have your characters move to different spaces. This is because he will set mines on the spaces, and if you're in a mine when he blows up, it's pretty much gonna kill you. I was having a lot of trouble just dealing the damage, but also dodging the mines and making sure he couldn't attack all of my party members. You see, at this point, I have done so little of the game that I'm a very low level, or at least stat-wise, I just am very low. I don't have very much. So after a couple failed attempts, I realize I need to go do something else. I decide to do a little bit of leveling up, and as I do, I look up a little bit of information online about how Yuna's Aeons work, because I knew that there was something in this game from when I was younger that lets you break the limit of 9,999 damage. In general, when you're playing Final Fantasy, 9999 is the highest damage you can do. Well, in games like this, they begun breaking the limit so that you can deal extra damage, but you have to do it in a very special way. The Aeon or character or weapon that you have must have this limit break skill on it. Otherwise, you cannot deal more than 9,999 damage. However, there is one character you already have that can do this. It's Bahamut, one of your Aeons. He comes with that, so you can learn about it before trying to use it anywhere else. This will kind of give you an idea at the end of the game, like, hey, you can get this really useful ability to fight. Now, what I realized is I don't want to spend too much time getting all of the last weapons in the game, because as cool as they are, they will take hours. And yes, they probably would have taken about 5 or 6 more streams to get and power up. And yeah, I would have beaten the game very quickly. However, I realized that if you do something with Yuna to make Bahamut more powerful, he is able, like I said, to break the limit of damage, which is not as hard as you would imagine right away. If you level Yuna up, her Aeons inherit some of her stats. They all inherit them at different values. Bahamut just so happens to inherit values from Yuna's attack, which you don't normally get. You normally get magic and MP and stuff like that because you are usually a white mage / summoner. But if you somehow have Yuna find herself in a position on the sphere grid to get attack up, then Bahamut will inherit way more from it than anything else. In fact, each couple points of strength that Yuna gets gives Bahamut 5 or 6 points. And at this point, being able to find very high attack stat values on the sphere grid is very easy. I have several friend spheres, so what my goal is to level her up and get lots of sphere levels, lots of them. Then send her to someone else's sphere grid area with a friendship sphere. I send her to Orin and to Waka's, and she's able to grab 3 or 4 +4 to attack, which is a very high value. But for Bahamut, it is extra high. These are way higher for him. After getting about 30 levels, which really didn't take long, it took about 2 hours to do this, I was able to have Bahamut going from about 6,000 to 7,000 damage to almost 35,000 damage per attack. Just attack. Not overdrive, not special ability, just attack. You hit attack and you do 35,000 damage, which a lot of the bosses at the end of the game have that much health, or to only take 2 attacks and then they're dead. They have like 65 to 80,000 health. One attack from him is a third or half of their health. And this is what I go for. I knew that there was a way to do a lot of damage, and this is the only way I could think of. So I send her those, get all the attack, get Bahamut up, and when I go back to fight this boss, I kick his ass the second time. The first time, he still kills all my teammates because I forget to move them around properly, and his mines blow up on me and kill me. But the second time, man, I wail on him with Bahamut, and it just destroys him. We're now on our way to go see Yunalesca, who's going to help us learn how to summon the final Aeon so we can fight Sin, and then have calm for 10 years and have him come back like every other fucking time. However, in the next room before we meet her, we get to see the scene play out where Orin tries to convince Yuna's dad and Titus's dad to not do this because they're just going to sacrifice their lives. Now, this is something that wasn't clear at first, but they now know that it's not just the summoner who is sacrificing their life for Sin to be defeated for 10 years. It's also someone else. The other person they choose is the actual final Aeon. So Braska chooses Jecht, which Jecht, of course, course, says yes because he wants all this to stop. And Orin is pretty upset about it. He says there's no point in doing this. Your deaths will mean nothing because it's just gonna come back. And they're like, yeah, but what if we can break the cycle? Which, I mean, that's a good sentiment, but why would you not try and think about this a little bit first? Nope, they just kind of go with it, which is fine, because Jek then says, I will find a way to break the cycle. And honestly, he is. He's trying to contact us with such ferocity that we're able to figure out that Jek is Sin, and he wants us to come kill him. So I guess the plan is working. The group decides it's not worth it anymore. There's no reason to continue the pilgrimage the way we've been doing it, because 2 people have to be sacrificed for literally nothing. There's just gonna be more death and suffering. So when we see Yunalesca, she says, are you ready? And we're like, yeah, to kill you. And she's like, you're gonna screw everyone by doing this. And we're like, yeah, but you don't fucking know. So we destroy her ass. But her boss fight is actually pretty tough. So let me explain. The first phase isn't very difficult. You put Reflect on the entire party because she will constantly try to blind you. This phase isn't overly difficult. It's just for you to kind of get ready for the next phase, where she gets bigger. She has got more of this crazy body that comes out of the ground. And now she will inflict zombie on the entire party. You obviously need to have your armor having things like zombie ward on it so that you have less of a chance. However, you don't want full nullification to zombie. And here's why. The third phase, you need zombie. Now, in the second phase, you do need to watch it because she will try to zombie you and then heal you, which if she does that, she will hurt you. So you need to either put Reflect on yourself, or you need to just let half your party have zombie sometimes and cure them with high potions or white magic. But whatever you do, you just need to make sure your party is healthy while you fight her. Having Reflect on yourself isn't always that helpful, especially because her third phase requires you to have some zombied characters. Once you deal enough damage in her second phase, she will instantly switch to her third phase and cast Megadeath. And if she hits you with this, which it will if you're not a zombie, you will die. You will lose the entire fight. It's the first thing that happened to me when I started this. I forgot that was something she does. She does it. So if you do not have any zombies on your team, you will immediately die to that. So you at least need one member to have zombies so you can survive that. And this is how it's gonna go. She's gonna use several different moves in her third phase, then cast Megadeath, then use several different moves, then cast Megadeath. So you need to have people in a zombie status, which means it's going to be very, very difficult because you can't heal a zombied character. You have to cure their zombie and then heal them. So it's a bit of a difficult fight. It honestly is. And as long as you can keep your defense up a little bit so she can't just continuously kill you with some of the zombie moves, which does deal damage, does deal physical damage to you as well as putting you in zombie status, you can take her. After the fight, the party gathers and decides this is it. We've got to attack Sin directly, especially because one of the faith, Bahamut's faith, comes to talk to us again. See, we've already learned that we are a dream person, but now we learn that the religion of Yevan is based off of Yu Yevan, an actual person who has summoned Sin as an Aeon. He even combined himself with Sin, is inside them right now, and he will continuously, for eternity, summon Sin as long as someone brings forth the final Aeon, which is sacrificing one of the party members as well as the summoner, to then fight him. That calm has him resummon Sin to fight everyone, and then once we put him away, he takes 10 years to resummon him again or something like that. I don't know. I suppose since it's been going on for so long, everyone's forgotten exactly what this is all about, but god damn, everyone just kind of gave in so quickly. Regardless of this, we decide to take a risk and just attack him directly, which is what we do. We get on the airship with Sid, and he takes us up to fight Sin as he's flying through the sky in the same kind of mechanics we had earlier, where the ship can move closer and further away from Sin to allow you to either dodge attacks, get some healing off, or hit him with melee characters by flying in. Now at first we get to see Sin do this crazy, awesome, strong move to show his prowess, but we're not scared. We're about to go in there and beat the shit out of him. And because we're so strong and we have all of the faith around us, believing that we can do this way and not just summon the final Aeon, they're trying to help. We actually can hurt Sin. On his side is this like little button thing that's like a flower and you can hit it, and this is damaging him for some reason. I'm not sure why, but no one knew about this. Like, we're the only people who know. This time, however, instead of wasting a lot of my time, I summon Bahamut and destroy that thing. This fight's about 10 minutes, only because of the cutscenes of the ship moving closer and further away, as well as Sin flying around us. So it's very simple. Then next we get on top of him to really bring him down to the ground. We're trying to defeat this flower thing, but he brings up another little piece of himself to protect it. This one is a little difficult. He hides and he defends himself. He also gets cured by the flower thing, but as long as you kill the thing in front first, you can then destroy it pretty quickly. It's only got about 35,000 health, which honestly at this point is one attack from Bahamut. Sin comes crashing down from the sky into a city. Those poor people are just watching Sin flying in the air and come crashing down into them, which he's already super scary. So then we board him and we start to like travel across his back to find where we can enter and fight Yu Yevan. As we move across his back, we fight extremely large monsters and tough fights, and I run from a lot of them because they're just not that easy to do over and over and over. And eventually I get to fight Seymour yet again. God, this guy just doesn't fucking die. Is there any way to die in this game? Luckily for me, this battle isn't too difficult. I begin with Bahamut, taking about 25,000 HP off his 80,000 total. In this fight, you can see these 4 big wheels around him. They determine what element he's going to be casting and what element he's going to be weak to. This is something that you can abuse during the battle, obviously, with someone like Lulu casting double cast black magic spells on him. But I start with Yuna using null, and I null every element I can. That way I don't have to worry so much about when he changes to a new element and starts casting it. I can then focus entirely on dealing damage and having to heal almost nothing. So that makes the fight a lot easier, and I do not actually have double cast as Lulu, so I spend a lot of this time using Orin and Titus to do lots of physical damage. Titus now has an ability called Quick Hit, which allows him to recover from that attack to his next turn quicker. And a lot of times, because I've casted haste on the entire party, he is allowed to use Quick Hit 3 or 4 times in a row to deal normal physical attack damage as if it's his regular attack. But he gets so many attacks in a row that I end up dealing 10 to 15,000 damage per round with Titus, which is awesome. So I just use Cheer at the beginning of the battle to raise their physical strength, and eventually I'm able to deal so much damage in such a short amount of time, and Bahamut set me up. This fight's pretty easy. A few more random battles later, and we finally reached the middle of Sin, where Jecht is standing. He's waiting for us to come kill him. Obviously, he doesn't want to be Sin anymore because that kind of sucks. He's killing a bunch of people and he can't control himself. Titus tells him he hates him. Jecht says, I know, but you still gotta kill me. And he's like, yeah, well, that's what we're gonna do. So we start the hardest battle in the game, for me at least, because I didn't do any of the other boss battles. But this one's very difficult. He is a big Aeon with a big sword in the middle of this battlefield, surrounded by 2 pagodas. These pagodas will heal him and buff him. And the buffs actually are mostly just debuff removers. They will remove any debuff you put on him. For example, if you put bio on him, he will remove bio. If you put zombie on him to stop those pagodas from healing him, they will remove that zombie status the first time that they do a power wave move, heal him, and then it just goes away. So it's almost useless to use those moves too often. It is helpful if you use zombie every turn and are able to inflict it every turn. This means that he at least once will not get healed by his pagodas, which is extremely helpful. The problem is that he gets many turns in a row. Sometimes he takes 4 or 5 turns. The pagodas heal him, he does damage to us, he charges his overdrive, all of these things. It's very difficult. And if you summon an Aeon, he gets all the turns in the world. Sometimes he will not stop taking turns until the Aeon is dead, which means that you get practically 1 attack. I fight him 1 time and it doesn't go well the first time. Obviously I use Bahamut way too early and I do something I didn't realize right at first, but these pagodas have a little mechanic to them that's way different than anything else we've fought so far. These guys have a very small amount of health, which is great because if you kill them, they stay dead for a turn or 2, and that gives you a chance to make sure that he doesn't get to heal himself or stop your debuffs, but they do come back and they will begin immediately healing him when he does. However, if you destroy a pagoda, and I'm not sure exactly the mechanic, but if you destroy a pagoda, any damage you deal over its max HP to kill it, it will gain that as extra HP the next time it comes back alive. So let's say it has 9,999 health, a pretty standard health for something like that. If you kill it with 10,500 damage, it will come back with an extra 500 HP, which is very easy at this point because Bahamut's doing so much freaking damage. The whole point is that this is supposed to stop you from using your damage over break thing where you can deal more than 9,999 damage, and if you do that to the pagodas, they will then become almost invulnerable. I think at one point they had 99,999 HP, and I was like not able to kill them at any amount of time. Like it was so difficult to kill them. So you've got to be careful about when you kill them, how much damage you do to them, or they'll come back with so much health you can't kill them for a couple hits, even with the damage break. My strategy just ended up being casting haste, casting slow on the pagodas, healing, dealing a little bit of zombie to him so that he doesn't get healed every time, as well as using quick hits from Titus and Orin because that is an extremely good ability at this point. Dealing physical damage several times in a row because it's so fast. It's almost like quick attack from Pokemon, except you just get extra turns. Eventually, I was getting my overdrive with Yuna and summoning my Aeons to do large amounts of damage. This would both kill the pagodas and deal damage to Jecht himself, and that would allow me a little bit more of a chance to fight him because he wasn't healing so often. So after being able to do that, you're able to get him down far enough to kill him, and that's it. The battle is over, and the battles after this are much more simple. You see, when you finish Jekt, Yu Yevan gets very pissed, and so he starts to take over some of the Aeons you have. He starts to inhabit their body and like take over them. And you have to fight all of your Aeons with those pagodas still intact. I don't know why they're still there, but they heal the Aeon and they will give it more overdrive. Obviously, if Bahamut gets overdrive, he will instantly kill my party, so I've got to be careful because I've made him super strong. But what happens is you also start this next battle with auto life. I don't think you can lose. I'm not even sure how you would if your characters all have auto life. They may come back without the ability to have auto life a second time, right? So if they die once, they come back once, and you could probably die after that. But I didn't even lose one character because once I got going, it was pretty simple. I was able to do a lot of physical damage, and quick hit with Tidus and Orin made it very simple. I killed all of the Aeons in like one turn because we do so much damage. And then we have to fight Yu Yevan himself, and this is a very silly fight. If you zombie Yu Yevan and then use a Phoenix down, it will kill him instantly. The end. I mean, you do start with auto life just like you did in the Aeon battle a minute ago. So it's not like it's unheard of to just blast him into death because you're not gonna die. Apparently it's like impossible to die in that fight. It's supposed to just be like a story fight, really, right? Like it's your characters getting to this point where Yu Yevan really needed the help of his Aeon, which was Jekt and Sin, and he couldn't now. Now that Jekt is dead because you killed him, there's nothing he can do. He has to fight you himself, and he just isn't as strong. I believe he is flanked by the pagoda still, but it wasn't a big deal with Zombie and Phoenix down, which is something that Jekt was immune to, in case you were wondering. You cannot do that to him as well. But that's it. We win. Once we beat Yu Yevan, Sin is dead and just explodes into blood and guts in the sky. Actually, it's just a big old fireball. Everyone in the whole world sees this and is like, what the fuck was that? This is not how things have gone the last 10 years. So suddenly the world is now free of Sin and Yu Yevan. Everyone's happy except for the fact that Yuna now has to send everyone. She just begins sending just everyone, sending them. They're not even dead. She just stabs them and sends. No, she doesn't do that. But she does send everyone, and she has to send Orin because he is dead. And he's like, all right, I mean, you know, I lived as long as I could to help everyone do what they needed to do. I'm ready to die. So he goes. Tidus is a dream person, so he just jumps off the side after a ghost movie embrace, which is kind of weird. They're not doing pottery or anything like that, but they do hug like in Ghost. And so he jumps off the side of the ship and is gone forever, in quotes. Yuna comes down and talks to everyone in spirit and says, hey, it's done. We got it. We figured it out. We are now free. So no more pilgrimages. Summoners are done. There's no more Aeons. All the Aeons have gone. The faith is gone. There's no point to have it anymore because it was all Yu Yevan. And we're ready. Done. Thank you, everyone. That's it. So Tidus is gone. Obviously, it leaves it on slightly a cliffhanger. You wish you could know more about it. There is more to know about it, though. I didn't complete the game in any kind of capacity where you'd get a special ending, or the international version, which I think has another ending maybe to it. I'm not sure. But there is a little bit more that we can learn about the game. Plus, there's Final Fantasy X too, which is canon. Just so you know, as far as I understand, it's canon, and that will have a little bit more information on Tidus and stuff, which he was the dream of one of the faiths, so I don't know what they're gonna do with him. He's like gone, man. And there you have it, everyone. Credits are rolling. That is game number 65 beaten. I cannot believe I've beaten 65 games. It's been over a year and a half, 2 years in August. I cannot believe this crazy stuff, man. So many RPGs too. I've played way too many long games, and I'm still here, which is great. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This game was fantastic, and one more time before I go, I did not do everything in the game. That's the point. I'm trying to beat the game as quick as possible, and I did. I beat it in like 30 hours, which I'm very surprised that I beat it that quickly, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe it's because all the other games I've played so far have been longer, so I just was a little surprised. But I do know the game a little better, plus a lot of the people in the chat knew the game pretty well too, and I think at the end when I made Yuna get a bunch of strength to make Bahamut strong, that probably helped a lot. So thank you once again for everyone who stayed this long in this long-ass video. Thank you everyone who is hanging out in the streams. Thank you so much everyone who helped me in the streams. Darkblade was extremely knowledgeable in the lore. There are a lot of people helping with strategies on beating bosses once I was getting there and we were trying to work through what we should do. It's just a good old time. And also thank you to all the YouTube and Patreon members, as well as the Twitch members. Thank you guys so much. It really helps, and I'm going to be able to buy so many cool games and beat them and then give them away. I do have a game right now, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which I beat, and I will, unless I'm able to do something special with it, be giving it away in about a month. I'll let everyone know in the community updates when I'm going to be doing that. I'll be doing that on stream, so if you'd like to participate, you can. Anyway, I will be back for the next video soon. Later.